Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Sylvan Yugioh deck profile for Post-Dimension Force. With the latest Yu-Gi-Oh! Booster set, we were given the new Sylvan Link monster, Sylvan Dance Peon. It's a really awesome Link monster that just helps to set up the Xyz plays that the deck is meant to do with all the different plant monsters you excavate, along with the excavation effect of the Sylvan monsters to have all the different card effects, whether it's destroying your opponent's cards or setting up your own special summons. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the main deck monsters first. For the main deck Sylvan monsters, for the 3 ofs, I'm running 3 Sylvan Hermit Tree, one of the big boss monsters of the main deck. Once per turn, you can excavate the top card of your deck. If it's a plant type monster, send it to the graveyard, and if you do, draw 1 card. Otherwise, place it on the bottom of the deck. These Sylvans share a good number of excavation card effects based on when they're summoned or just a once per turn. And if this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can look at 3 cards from the top of your deck, then place them on the top of the deck in any order. So it's when it's excavated from the deck and sent to the graveyard is when the good majority of these Sylvan card effects activate. And just like with Sylvan Hermit Tree, being able to then rearrange the top of the deck so you can have some more Sylvan monsters placed properly for your other excavation card effects. I also run 3 Sylvan Peacekeeper. When it's normal or special summon, you can excavate the top card of your deck. And if it's a plant type monster, send it to the graveyard. And then when Peacekeeper is excavated, you can special summon 1 plant type monster from your graveyard that's level 4 or lower, giving you more play setup with this card. And for the requirements for your Link monster, Sylvan Dance Peon, just needing 2 plant monsters, that can be the setup needed to then summon out that Link monster. For the last of the 3 ofs, I also run 3 Sylvan Cherub Sprout. When it's special summon, you can choose either 1 or 2, then excavate that many cards from the top of your deck, send any excavated plant type monsters to the graveyard, and when this card is excavated, you can send to the graveyard by a card effect. You can special summon 1 level 1 plant monster from your deck, and you can only use this effect of Cherub Sprout once per turn. So you have plenty of level 1 targets in the deck, along with Sylvan Peacekeeper. So when you activate and special summon your Cherub Sprout, being able to summon out Peacekeeper can then just give you that special summon you needed beforehand with the special summon off of Cherub Sprout. That's why I like running 3 of this card, so you just see it more often with its excavation and all the other plant type monsters in the deck. For some of the lower numbers for these Sylvans, I also run 2 Sage Yugioh. When a Sylvan monster is sent to the graveyard, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand, and once per turn, you can excavate the top card of your deck, and if it's a plant monster, send it to the graveyard, otherwise place on the bottom of the deck. And if this card is excavated to the graveyard by a card effect, you can target 1 Sylvan spell or trap in your graveyard and add that target to your hand. One of the good majority of the Sylvan spells we run is Charity, just more draw power for the deck to use. So being able to recycle this card back to our hand with Sage Yugioh is always a good benefit for sure. And for more adjustment for our Xyz plays, I run 2 Sylvan Princess Sprout. You go and activate each effect of Sylvan Princess Sprout once per turn. You contribute this card to excavate the top card of your deck and send it to the graveyard. Then you can place 1 Sprout monster from your graveyard on the top of your deck. Another way to set up your Cherub Sprout thanks to this card. And if this card is excavated from the graveyard and sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can declare a level from 1 to 8 and special summon this card, and it becomes that level. Meaning for the different Xyz summons, whether you go for Sylvan Princess Sprite or your Alcee or your Araya, you have all the different ranks ready to go with each of the other different monsters, because Sage Yugioh is a level 7 and the other ones are level 1s, and Hermit Tree is level 8. So being able to adjust Princess Sprout to those levels is why I like running this card for the Xyz plays. I also run 2 Komoshrumo. This is more of a flip effect card, being able to excavate the top 5 cards of your deck when it's flipped face up. But also, I use it more for the actual excavation card effect of this card. When it's excavated, you can destroy a spell or trap on the field, getting rid of some pesky cards that your opponent may use to try and shut down your own special summons by being able to excavate this card and do so. And for the 1-ofs, for the Sylvan monsters, I run 1 Flower Knight. This is more recycle power for a Sylvan card from your deck and placing it on the top of your deck. And 1 Martial Leaf, with Martial Leaf having destruction capabilities of monsters on the field. And when it's normal summon, being able to choose a 1 or 2 and excavate that many cards. I only run 1 Martial Leaf. The pop effect for the monster play can be reused and recycled after it's in the graveyard by some of our other cards. But really, the normal summon play doesn't really pop up as much. A lot of my normal summons will be used by the next following card, which is Lone Fire Blossom, starting off with the non-Sylvan plant type monsters now. Lone Fire Blossom, you can distribute it to special summon 1 plant monster from your deck onto the field. So with Lone Fire Blossom, you can just summon out Hermit Tree that much more easily, and this is definitely a better setup than just a Martial Leaf normal summon, because then you can use Hermit Tree for the excavation, excavating a potential plant type monster, and then getting a draw from there. I also run 2 Rose Lover, another level 1 special summon that you can summon out if this card is activated with your Cherub Sprout. To special summon a level 1 plant type monster, you can just summon out Rose Lover if you have the other plant type monster already on the field, and then use those 2 for the Link summon, and then being able to banish this card from the graveyard to special summon a plant monster from your hand. So if you open up Hermit Tree in your hand, you can just special summon it out this way and then use its card effect. I also run 2 Rose Girl. This is one of the newer cards from, I believe it was reprinted in the Megatin, but it's a plant tuner. If a face-up plant monster you control is sent to the graveyard, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. And if a plant monster is on the field, is there in the graveyard, you can add this card to your hand. You can only use 1 Rose Girl effect per turn, only once that turn. So with the special summon from the hand, if a plant type monster is just on the field and able to recycle Rose Girl, you have a special summon available to you with this card over and over again, being able to also set it up in the graveyard with all your different excavations. For some of the one-ofs for the plant monsters, I also run 1 World Carrot Weight Champion. If it's in the graveyard, you can send 1 plant monster from your hand or face on the field of the graveyard to special summon this card. You can only do that once per turn, but also a special summon with Spore from the graveyard can easily be done, and then adjusting the levels of the Spore depending on what you banish. 1 Mardell, Generator Boss of Light. You can only control 1 Mardell, but it is a plant type monster, so it's another Lone Fire special summon. And if it's normal or special summon, you can add 1 Generator card or 1 plant monster from your deck to your hand, giving more of a search power to the good majority of the plant monsters we run. And for more special summon power from the hand, 1 Snowdrop, the Rika Fairy, this card being able to special summon itself by tributing a plant type monster and then 1 other plant monster from our hand. So all these plays go well with either searching out the Hermit Tree to our hand with Mardell or special summoning it along with Snowdrop onto the field. And that is it for the monsters. We run a pretty high monster count, but you want to be able to hit those excavations for all our different plant type monsters to then set up in the graveyard. For the spells, I am running 3 Sylvan Charity. You draw 3 cards. Then if you have a Sylvan card in your hand, reveal 2 cards from your hand, including at least 1 Sylvan card, then place them on the top of the deck in any order. Otherwise, reveal your entire hand and place it on the top of the deck in any order. This draw power will help, and you should have a good majority of Sylvan cards to then place on the top of the deck for you to use. You run 3 of this just so you have that consistency for then stacking the deck with the cards you may need for those excavations. I also run 2 Mount Sylvania for the field spell setup. You can send 1 plant monster from your hand or face on the field to the graveyard. Choose 1 Sylvan card from your deck and place it on the top of the deck. You can only use this effect of Mount Sylvania once per turn. And once per turn during your opponent's end phase, you can excavate the top card of your deck. And if it's a plant type monster, send it to the graveyard, activating those Sylvan cards that you've already pre-placed on the deck thanks to this card. I only run 2 though. I feel that's all you need. Having multiple of this card means just a bigger chance that you'll reveal on the excavation and not really be able to activate anything because of it. And for some of the other one-ofs for the spells, I run 1 Miracle Fertilizer. I always thought of bumping this card up more. It does take away your normal summon, but does lead to an easy special summon from the graveyard. 1 Call by the Grave. If you didn't want to run this card in the deck and focus more on the plant plays, you can always put in a 2nd Miracle Fertilizer for it. 1 Reasoning. We have plenty of different level monsters in the deck, so always a good card to get a special summon out on the field. 1 for 1 for the majority of level 1 monsters we run. This definitely does come in handy, especially with special summoning out Cherub Sprout. 1 Monster Reborn for the special summoning power from the graveyard once again. And for the rest of the spells, 1 Pot of Avarice and 1 Terraforming. The Terraforming for searching out the Mount Sylvania, and the Pot of Avarice, you will go through your plant monsters very quickly, so being able to recycle some of the important ones back into the deck to reuse, and then drawing 2 will always come up. And that is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the extra deck. I run 2 Sylvan Dance Peon. You need 2 plant monsters to make it. If it's Link Summon, you can choose a number from 1 to 3 and excavate the top cards of your deck for it. And if you do special summon up to 1 excavated plant monster, but they cannot be used as Link material, also send the remaining cards to the graveyard. You can target 1 plant monster in your graveyard that has a level. The levels of monsters this card points to becomes that monster's level. So with it, you can have the special summon of your Cherub Sprout activated, as well as the special summon of the card you revealed. So if you activate a monster you want to special summon along with Cherub Sprout, you'll gain the level 1 special summon of Cherub Sprout and then your Sage of Koya. And as long as you have that other one in the graveyard, you'll have the 2 monsters on the field to point to and adjust the levels for using this card. I also run the 1 Aromaseraphie Jasmine for the plant plays once again. For a plant monster from your deck, it's basically almost like a Needle Fiber or a Halqifibrax, as long as your life points are higher than your opponent's. The 1 Link Karibo for the level 1 graveyard setup once again. The 1 Nightmare Unicorn for more disruption from your opponent's field. And the 1 Access Code Talker for more destruction of your opponent's cards. And for the Xyz monsters, I run 2 Princess Sprite. More of the spell and trap setup. We you can detach one from this card, excavate the top card of your deck, and if it's a spell or trap, add it to your hand. You can set up a lot of different cards with this deck, so more setup using this play because of it. And also two, I'll say the High Protector. Once again, you can adjust levels in the deck pretty easily, so being able to go into this card as well, as long as you have that level 8 monster in the graveyard, which most of the time you will, in the form of either your Snowdrop, the Rika Fairy, or even your play of going into and having Hermitry in the graveyard for the Dance Peon to then adjust the levels of your monsters on the field to that level and then overlay into them. I also run the one Aurea, the Sylvan High Arbiter. It helps for more excavation and bouncing of cards on your opponent's field. And the one Ensemble Robin for more special summoning disruption on your opponent's field by using just 2 or more level 1 monsters on the field, which you can easily build up in this deck. And for the Synchro monsters, I run one Perielis, the Empress of Blossoms. It gains 400 attack for each plant monster you control, except this card. And during your main phase, you can special summon 1 level 5 or higher plant monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position, except for Perielis, the Empress of Blossoms. Great for setup of those bigger Sylvan monsters on the field. And one of the go-to synchros, along with Borreload Savage Dragon to use with our Link monsters we run, and one Baron de Fleur. You can hit the pretty high levels in this deck, and with cards like Spore and also Rose Girl being pretty easy tuners to special summon on the field, you can get this card out quite easily as well. And then as for some of the go-to plays in the deck, summoning out your Dance Peon is a big part of that setup. And just being able to, if a face-up plant-type monster is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand with Rose Girl. So just being able to then have this play set up for that special summon. You can even just go for the special summon using your other plant-type monsters for the excavation, even with cards like Peacekeeper, being able to summon this card out. And if you excavate the Cherub Sprout, you then have the play to special summon another level 1 monster onto the field from your deck. You can then summon out the Rose Lover onto the field, or even the Princess Sprout. Thanks to Cherub Sprout, that's a link 2 using those 2 cards. Having these 3 cards then set up in the graveyard, you go for your link 2 Dance Peon, and then off of that excavation, you have the special summon play as well, thanks to this card. So you can reveal the Sage Akoya, or even the, it all depends on what you excavate off of these cards. Sending the Rose Lover to the graveyard, special summoning out the Sage Akoya as the one you revealed, and then being able to use the Rose Lover to special summon another potential plant monster you have in your hand. You can then target the plant monster in the graveyard you want to copy with the effect of your Dance Peon, then being able to use those cards to target a plant monster, and that has the level of monster on the field this card points to, and also those monsters on the field will become that level, overlaying the 2 into the Xyz monster of choice, and then continuing your plays from there. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy the video. Definitely happy that I was finally to update the Sylvans with the newest support from Dimension Force. So look forward to more deck updates after this one as well. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira, Twig out.